If you liked the video, feel free to like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out. Thanks for watching. Thanks for stopping by. Grey Knights Banishers Overview. This video is an overview of the new Grey Knights 10th Edition Codex Detachment Banishers. This detachment has a lot more melee buffs than it does shooting buffs, with a fun yet frustrating detachment rule. We will take a look at the Grey Knights Army rule, then the Banishers Detachment Rule, Enhancements, and Stratagems. I have a list of some top units for the detachment with a few example lists. We are just getting into the codex. I'm sure these lists will evolve over the coming months. Let's start with the Army rule, Gate of Infinity. The Grey Knights Army rule is Gate of Infinity. If your army faction is Grey Knights, at the end of your opponent's fight phase, you can select a number of Grey Knights units from your army with this ability, excluding units that are within engagement range of one or more enemy units, providing all models in that unit have this ability. The maximum number of units you can select depends on the battle size as follows. Once you've made your selections, remove those units from the battlefield and place them into strategic reserves. That is the Army rule, returning units to reserves at the end of the opponent's fight phase. What we do with those units is not part of the Army rule. We can hold the units in reserves until the end of the game if we want. It won't win games, but we technically could do it since this is a reposition move. Units use the reserves, strategic reserves rules to replace those units back on the battlefield. It is why it is so important so many of our Grey Knights units have the deep strike ability. Yes, that means we can hold a unit in reserves to rapid ingress that unit. On to the Banishers Detachment Rule. Channeled Force. Each time a Grey Knights unit from your army is selected to fight, the unit can take a leadership test. If that test is passed, select one of the following rules. Until the end of the phase, that unit has that rule. Melee weapons equipped by models in this unit with the psychic ability have the Sustain Hits 1 ability. Or we could pick melee weapons equipped by models in this unit with the psychic ability have the Lethal Hits ability. The detachment rule works only in the fight phase. Sustain Hits 1 is great for when we need those extra attacks into a large model count unit. Choose Lethal Hits into anything toughness 6 or higher. Unlike the Dark Pack's ability for the Chaos Space Marines, if we fail it, the unit does not get the Sustain Hits or Lethal. The unit will not suffer mortal wounds on a failure though. Now you can see why I said this is fun, yet frustrating. Staging charges will be very important in this detachment. Banishers will not win many games, banking on 9-inch charges all game. This is Sustain Hits 1 or Lethal Hits in the fight phase, not the shooting phase. Do not go for those reckless plays just to get into melee combat. Play smart, lure the enemy into charge range without depending on Gate of Infinity attempting 9-inch charges out of deep strike. On to the 4 enhancements for the Banishers Detachment. Our first enhancement is the Ephemeral Tomb, Grey Knights infantry model only. At the start of your shooting phase, if the bearer's unit is not within engagement range of one or more enemy units, the bearer can use this enhancement. If it does, the bearer's unit can make a normal move up to D6 until the end of the turn. The bearer's unit is not eligible to declare a charge. I'm not as experienced with the Grey Knights as I am with the Adeptus Custodes. I may be missing something here, but this seems like hot garbage. There are 3 things I do not like about this enhancement. Number 1, start of the shooting phase. This is a scoot and shoot instead of a shoot and scoot. Number 2 is a D6 movement is unreliable. Third is we have a melee buffing detachment rule and we cannot charge after using this. I mean, yes, there will be situations where an extra D6 movement will make a difference or even win a game, but it is situational at best. Next we have Pyre Soul, and this is Grey Knights model only. At the start of your shooting phase, the bearer can use this enhancement. If it does, select one enemy unit within 24 inches and visible. That unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. This is an enhancement that will depend on the points cost. An easy enough enhancement to use almost every turn in the game. How many points is 5 to 15 mortal wounds throughout a game worth? Grey Knights model means we could put this on any character that can hold an enhancement. With the librarian going down in points, a solo librarian with a Pyre Soul could be a hard-hitting solo unit to bounce around the board. Sigil of Hunt, Grey Knights model only. In your shooting phase, each time a model in the bearer's unit makes an attack, reroll a hit roll of 1. Note that Sigil of the Hunt is the bearer's unit, shooting only. We could use this on an infantry character leading a unit, or on a Grandmaster Dread Knight or Dreadnought. Paladins, Terminators, Purifiers, and Dread Knights will all enjoy a good reroll to hit roll of 1, one of the better enhancements in the Banishers Detachment. The last enhancement, and probably the best enhancement, is 66th Seal. In your shooting phase, each time a model in the bearer's unit makes an attack, improve the armor penetration by 1. Another enhancement that buffs the shooting to the bearer in the bearer's unit. This is another Grey Knights model enhancement, lots of options on where we could put this enhancement. And like I said, 66th Seal is probably the best enhancement in the detachment. Plus 1 AP to the bearer and the bearer's unit is very strong. AP 3 Purifying Flames, it would need to be on a Technomancer, joining Purifiers though, and that might be a bit too expensive. I'll have to try it out though with a 10-man unit with a Technomancer and the 66th Seal. AP 3 Psi Cannons and AP 5 Sublimators on a Grandmaster Dread Knight sounds very strong as well. We also could have AP 1 Stormbolters, that's not that scary though. Those are the 4 enhancements for the Banishers Detachment. Let's move on to the 6 stratagems. The first stratagem is Celerity for 1 CP. In your charge phase, 1 Grey Knight Psyker unit from your army. Until the end of the turn, your unit is eligible to declare a charge in a turn in which it advances. Advance and charge. Advance and charge is great for a melee army. We cannot shoot after we advance though. It is not advance, shoot and charge. 3 units that come to mind that will love advance and charge are our Paladins, Purifiers, and our Grandmaster Dread Knights. All have abilities to make them very dangerous in melee combat. One of the top tier stratagems in the detachment, we want to be in combat to roll for sustained hits 1 or lethal hits. Advance and charge is just what the doctor ordered. Chaos Bane for 1 CP. In your shooting phase, 1 Grey Knight Psyker unit from your army that has not been selected to shoot this phase. Until the end of the phase, ranged weapons equipped by models in your unit have the Anti-Chaos 4+ ability. It seems a bit strange there's not as many melee rules to go along with our melee detachment rule Channeled Force. A neat stratagem, but it does feel like a throwback when the Grey Knights were near auto win versus Chaos in older editions of Warhammer 40k. Are we the bane of chaos with a stratagem? Not really. A 4+ to wound is a 50% chance. Stormbolters and infantry heavy weapons with anti-chaos 4+ is not a huge threat. Possibly it could be used on our Dread Knights, still anti-chaos 4 is nothing special. Our next stratagem is Circle of Sanctuary for 1 CP. At the start of your opponent's movement phase, 1 Grey Knight's character model from your army. Until the end of the phase, enemy units that are set up on the battlefield as reinforcements cannot be set up within 12 inches horizontally of your model. It is a shame this is not the bearer's unit. This is still a strong stratagem that will ruin a lot of enemy game plans. It is at the start of your opponent's movement phase. Take some time when using this stratagem, look at what the opponent needs to do to score points, then try to use this to block out your opponent from scoring those points. Will using Circle of Sanctuary on a Grey Knight's character model deny the opponent points? The more we take the time to make a smart choice, the better the stratagem will be. Next up is Hexrot Reprisal for 1 CP. End of any phase, 1 Grey Knight Psyker unit from your army that is on the battlefield and suffered 1 or more mortal wounds this phase. Select 1 enemy unit which inflicted 1 or more of those mortal wounds on your unit this phase. Then roll a number of dice equal to the number of mortal wounds your unit suffered this phase. For each 2+, that enemy unit suffers 1 mortal wound, to a maximum of 6 mortal wounds. These mortal wounds are psychic attacks. I need to play this detachment some to see how useful this stratagem is in an actual game. Returning some mortal wounds sounds great, and it is. It is the timing of the stratagem at the end of any phase. Great for something like Tank Shock. It is in a short and very low damage charge phase. End of the phase in the shooting or fight phase, there might not be a unit left to use this stratagem on. It is not when the unit takes mortal wounds, it is at the end of the phase, after the opponent has done all of their activations. Sounds cool to return some mortal wounds, I just don't know how much we will end up actually using this. Shadows of Anarch for 1 CP. Your opponent's movement phase just after an enemy unit ends a normal, advance, or fallback, and 1 Grey Knight unit from your army within 9 inches of that enemy unit, and not within engagement range. Your unit can make a normal move up to 6 inches, or if it has a deep strike ability, it can be placed into strategic reserves. This is Mist of Deimos with a different name. It was and still is the best stratagem in the detachment. The amount of tricks and shenanigans you can do with this stratagem deserves its own video. Just like Duty on Ending in Brotherhood Strike, if an enemy unit falls back from one of our Grey Knights units, ends that fallback move within 9 inches, we can use Shadows of Anarch to pick up that Grey Knights unit and put it into strategic reserves. An enemy unit ends a move or advance a bit too close for our liking, 1 CP and we are gone. If you notice it puts the unit into strategic reserves, that means for a pricey 2 CP or a 1 CP if we have a Grandmaster, we can use Shadows of Anarch to pick the unit up in the opponent's movement phase. Then at the end of the opponent's movement phase, we can use Rapid Ingress to bring that unit back down on the table. Have a plan for this stratagem. It is much stronger if we do not play it like a reactive stratagem. The last stratagem for the Banishers Detachment is Warding Chant for 1 CP. In your opponent's shooting phase or the fight phase, just after an enemy unit has selected its targets, 1 Grey Knight Psyker model from your army. Until the end of the phase, models in your unit have a 5+ Funeral Pain ability against attacks with an unmodified damage of 1. Another more situational stratagem. Against a list with a lot of damage 1, a 5+ Funeral Pain for 1 CP is CP well spent. I also play Custodes, and Custodes have very little damage 1 weapons. Guardian Spear's shooting and melee is damage 2. A flat 5+ Funeral Pain for 1 CP would have been a nice defensive stratagem for a more elite army. Warding Chant will either be very helpful or near useless. Those are the rules for the Banishers Detachment. Let's look at some of the top units and some example lists for this detachment. These are some of the top units for the Banishers Detachment. Our first unit is the Brother Captain. I can see the Brother Captain as one of the better leaders for the Brotherhood Terminators or the Paladins. He gives the unit lethal hits. Combine that with the Detachment Rule for Sustained Hits 1 and Lethal Hits. The Brotherhood Terminators now have an ability that adds +1 AP to their melee weapons when attacking non-vehicle or monster units. The Paladins are damage 3 if they have charged that turn. Sustained Hits 1 and Lethal Hits is a scary combo on the Paladins. Next is the Brotherhood Terminator Squad. I like these in a unit of 4. Currently, as of August 2025, they are 160 points for a unit of 4. They still get a Narthasium, Agent's Banner, and a heavy weapon in that 4-man unit. No longer do they need to have charge to activate their ability. It is a different ability now, adding +1 AP to their melee weapons when they've targeted a unit, excluding vehicle and monsters. I don't feel we really needed more help in the anti-infantry department. It is what it is though. Next is the near auto-include Castellan Crow with Purifiers. Crow with Purifiers are going to be an auto-include unit for me in many of these new Codex detachments. The Purifiers now have AP2 on their Purifying Flame. Crow still adds 1 to the total shots. When he is leading a 10-man Purifier unit, that will be 24 Purifying Flame shots, including Crow's 4, hitting on a 3+, while Crows are hitting on a 2+. 24 shots, Strength 4, AP2, Damage 1 with Anti-Infantry 2, ignores cover. Then reroll wounds of 1 or the wound roll if the target is within range of an objective. Add all the Stormbolters or heavy weapons if we want to put heavy weapons in this unit. The unit is going to terrorize the enemy infantry units. The Crow with Purifier unit will love Sustained Hits 1 or Lethal Hits in the fight phase from the Channeled Force Detachment Rule. They are already the most deadly infantry shooting units we have access to. We could forego the heavy weapons to have 10 Stormbolters and 10 Nemesis Force weapons to go along with the 24 Purifying Flame attacks. Celerity for 1 CP can have this unit advancing and charging, but not able to advance and shoot. Warding Chant for 1 CP helps keep them alive against unmodified damage 1 attacks. A 5-man unit of Purifiers inside a Razorback becomes a real problem in this detachment. Next is the Grandmaster and Nemesis Dread Knight. The stat line and the weapons of the Dread Knights are unchanged. The Grandmaster Dread Knight did gain a Melter range weapon with a few melee mace options. The Nemesis Dread Knights can advance, shoot, and charge, while the Grandmasters can reroll hits, wounds, damage into vehicle monster units, as well as reduce the cost of a stratagem once per battle round. It used to be once per battle. Once per battle round is much better. The Banishers Detachment Rule is Grey Knights units. Their Dread Knights could have Sustained Hits 1 or Lethal Hits in the fight phase on a successful leadership test. Sigil of the Hunt Enhancement allows us to reroll hits of 1, or 66 Seal for an extra AP1 are good enhancements on a Grandmaster Nemesis Dread Knight for some extra shooting potential. Celerity, Shadows of Anarch, or Circle of Sanctuary are all good targets for the Grandmaster Dread Knight's reduce a stratagem by 1 CP per battle round ability. The Grandmaster Nemesis Dread Knight's big base is great for Circle of Sanctuary. It is a 12-inch reserves deny bubble from the character model's base. Then we have the Brotherhood Librarian. Now I'm torn with the Librarian. On one hand, I miss the Mortal Wounds bomb from the Vortex of Doom. The new profile will be better into some targets, plus we do not have to worry about melting our own brains anymore. Vortex of Doom is now an 18-inch range attack with D6 plus 3 attacks, hitting on a 3+, Strength 8, AP 2, Damage 2 with Blast and Psychic. This will tear Space Marine profiles apart into vehicles. Old Vortex doing mortal wounds was much better. Parry Librarian with the Power Soul enhancement for a mini Old Vortex of Doom. It would make a decent solo character to jump around killing light infantry while doing some secondary actions. Paladin Soulfire is their new ability. The Librarian's unit cannot be targeted by a range attack unless the attacker is within 18 inches. 18-inch lone op is not the best for a frontline unit. A Librarian with 4 to 5 Terminators holding our expansion objective or deployment, this ability should keep them much safer. Their Psychic Hood ability gives them a 4+ Feel No Pain to psychic attacks. This does include mortal wounds from any psychic attack as well. Next up is the Paladin Squad. They lost their -1 to the wound roll of incoming enemy attacks. They did gain +1 damage on their melee weapons if they've charged that turn. Damage 3 Nemesis Force weapons. Brotherhood Terminators and Paladin Squads can be taken in a unit of 4, 5, 8, or 10 models now. At least 5 seems to be the sweet spot for the Paladins, allowing them to equip 3 heavy weapons in the unit. They can now bring a Narthasium in the unit. We now have Zombie Paladins. Yes, that does mean we could heroically intervene for 1 CP and get this ability. The charge bonus when you charge is the Feist First bonus, so you don't get Feist First when you heroically intervene, but you do get your abilities that are procced off a charge. A unit that will really enjoy sustain hits 1 or lethal hits on their melee weapons. There are some ways to buff up the Paladins in this detachment. Nothing stands out as a big reason to take these other than the Detachment Rule. Sustain hits 1 or lethal hits combined with damage 3 melee attacks is a pretty good reason though. Next up is the Razorback. A vehicle that I am interested in trying out for this detachment is a Grey Knight's Razorback. The interesting thing about the Razorback is that their fire focus ability is for the rest of the turn. Units that disembark from the Razorback that turn would have +1 AP in the shooting and the fight phase into one enemy unit hit by the Razorback's shooting attacks. Purifiers are a great unit to put inside a Razorback. A transport capacity of 6, Crow with 5 Purifiers, or even a 5-man unit embarked is a real threat. AP 1 Stormbolters, AP 2 Incinerators and Side Cannons with a very scary AP 3 Purifying Flame. 3 attacks each at Strength 6, AP 3 Damage 2 in the fight phase. Sanctity of Purpose gives the Purifiers reroll wounds if the target is on objective. A Razorback plus 5 Purifiers is great for pushing objectives. The last top unit, of course, is the Strike Squad. The Strike Squad was unchanged from the Index. It is still a battle line unit, can still sticky objectives, and be led by a Brotherhood champion. It never hurts to have a 5-man Strike Squad unit in a Grey Knights list. Sticky objectives helps Grey Knights get around the fact that if you do not hold objectives, you do not win games. Now we can put units in reserves with Infinity Gate while still holding objectives with our Sticky Objectives ability. Those were some of the top units for the Banishers Detachment. Let's take a look at some example lists. Let's take a look at our list examples for the Banishers Detachment. We do have 2 2,000 points lists and 1 1,000 point list. Our first 2,000 point list is going to be an infantry heavy list, and it comes to 2,000 points. Our warlord is Castellan Crow. For other characters, we do have a Grandmaster with the Ephemeral Tomb and a Side Cannon. We have a Brotherhood Librarian with the Power Soul enhancement and a combi weapon. 2 Brother Captains with no enhancements and a Side Cannon each. For a battle line, we do have 1 4-man unit of Terminators with an Ancient Banner and a Side Cannon and Narthasium. 2 units of 5 Strike Squads. Each one of those units has a Side Cannon and a close combat weapon. For our other datasheets, we do have 2 units of 5 Paladins with the Ancient's Banner, 3 Side Cannons, and a Narthasium in that unit. Those 2 squads will join up with the Brother Captains, while the Terminator squad is going to join up with the Grand Master. I have a 10-man Purifier squad. all with Storm Bolters and Nemesis Force weapons. We also have 2 more 5-man Purifier squads. Once again, those are kitted out with Storm Bolters and Nemesis Force weapons. For our dedicated transports, we do have 2 Razorbacks with a Hunter-Killer Missile, Storm Bolter, and Twin Las Cannon each. The Brother Captains will join the Paladin squad, the Grand Master will join the Terminator squad, and the Brotherhood Librarian is going to run around as a solo character. Our second Banishers list is going to be a combined arms list, and this list comes to 2,000 points. Warlord once again is Castellan Crow. For our other characters, we do have a Brotherhood Librarian with the 66 Seal Enhancement and a Combi Weapon. A Brother Captain with the Pyre Soul Enhancement and a Side Cannon. To round out the characters, we do have 2 Grandmaster Nemesis Dread Knights. Our first one has the Sigil of the Hunt Enhancement with a Side Cannon, Sublimator, and Great Hammer. The other Grandmaster Nemesis Dread Knight has no enhancements with a Side Cannon, Sublimator, and Great Hammer. Battle line once again is 2 units of 5 strike squads. They do have a side cannon and close combat weapon, and each one of those units. For the other data sheets, we do have 2 units of 5 paladins with the Agent's Banner, 3 side cannons, and a Nartheseum. To round out our infantry, we do have 3 units of 5 purifiers, 5 storm bolters, and 5 nemesis force weapons, and each one of those units. Last for this list, we do have 2 Razorbacks with the Hunter-Killer Missile, Storm Bolter, and Twin Las Cannon. I'm going to put Castellan Crow with one of these 5-man Purifier squads and put one of those inside the Razorback, while the other Razorback will have one of the other Purifier squads. The last Purifier squad will start on the table. Our last Banishers list is going to be a combined armed 1,000 point list, and it comes to 995 points. Warlord is Castellan Crow. For our other characters, we do have a Brother Captain with the Sigil of Hunt Enhancement and a Side Cannon. A Grandmaster and Nemesis Dread Knight with the 66 Seal Enhancement, Side Cannon, Sublimator, and Great Hammer. Battle line is a trusty 5-man strike squad with the Side Cannon and close combat weapon. For the other data sheets, we do have a 5-man Paladin squad, Ancient Banner, 3 side cannons, and a Nartheseum in that unit, a 5-man Purifier squad, 5 Storm Bolters, and 5 Nemesis Force weapons in that unit. To round out the list for our dedicated transports, we do have 1 Razorback with the Hunter-Killer Missile, Storm Bolter, and Twin Las Cannon. For this list, I'm going to put Castellan Crow and that Purifier squad inside the Razorback. Those were our 3 example lists. Let's move on to some final thoughts. Let's finish the video with some final thoughts. I think this will be a feels good and feels bad detachment. When we are passing those leadership tests, handing out sustained hits 1 or lethal hits, things will feel great. When our Strength 6 weapons are bouncing off a tough monster vehicle unit because we failed our leadership test only to get slaughtered when the enemy hits back, we failed to do enough damage without lethal hits. Things will feel less than great. I'm not sold on the stratagems, but there are some good ones. Advance and Charge or Shadows of Anarch, aka the Old Mist of Deimos stratagem. Next week, we will have the last 2 overviews for the Codex Detachments, then move on to some more in-depth content about these detachments. Subscribe for battle reports, list videos, and other Warhammer 40k content. Channel members gain early access to videos and an invite to the channel Discord. Like always, thanks for watching, thanks for stopping by.